on the brake, really wet roads, and
The UK is a very, very wet country which averages more rainfall than Glasgow. In fact, it's so wet that Santa delivers his presents by boat, and, by order of the government, swimming lessons are mandatory. Indeed, those that fail will be asked to go to a dry country, like Mars. But every cloud has a silver lining.
And that silver lining is this, the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Let's try a launch here. Sport Plus on the brake, really wet roads, and honestly, this just blows my mind. I cannot believe how well it puts the power down in really wet conditions. There was virtually no slip there at all. The computer's taking complete care of getting that traction down onto the road in the best way possible. And that is really the subject of this video. What is the best car for wet conditions? Now, in the UK, the roads are absolutely terrible at the best of times. And as we said, it's very often raining. So really, to get the power down as well as possible, you're looking at a four-wheel drive car. Anything that is front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive is going to have you slipping all over the road a lot. But we've got to kind of understand why the Porsche Taycan is so good at getting the power down on the road. Now, as we know, the Porsche Taycan is a four-wheel drive car, unless of course you go for the base model, which is rear-wheel drive only, one motor at the rear. All the others have that front motor as well. And there's no drive shaft linking the front drivetrain, the front motor, to the rear motor. No drive shaft at all. So the beauty of having that setup is that the computer can take very quick care of adjusting power to the front and the rear of the car. And it does so because, if you think about it, electricity kind of operates at the speed of light, whereas a combustion engine might take a little bit of time to get more fuel into the engine and for it to compensate than this car here, the Taycan, with its electric wizardry. Now, with that setup, the car has the ability to adjust the way it's facing very well indeed. And the Porsche engineers talk about this at length online in videos that go into a lot of detail here. Now, this is the Taycan Turbo S. The Turbo and the GTS all come with electronically controlled limited slip differentials as part of that rear motor setup. So the rear motor, that 2-speed gearbox, and that differential are all combined into one. And that is what gives you the ability to send power to the left or right rear wheels very quickly to adjust it to prevent that slip. And also, if you go into a corner a little too fast, and I hope to get this on the track soon so we can really dig into that, but if you go into a corner a little too fast, it's going to ensure that the car is facing the right direction when you come out of it. And this car, as you've seen, is notoriously difficult to drift well. I think there's been a few attempts online where, yes, it is possible, but nowhere near as easy as a combustion engine car, the likes of a 911, for example. It absolutely is a drift machine. That setup in the rear is called Porsche Torque Vectoring, okay? That limited slip, and it is standard on the GTS upwards, those model variants upwards. Anything else you'd need to spec it, and I'd firmly recommend you do. It's around about £1,000 as an option, depending on the model that you're going in on that Taycan. So having four-wheel drive is absolutely crucial for getting the power down onto your average roads, especially when it's wet, right? So that's something this is very good at. But there is another reason why this is so good at putting the power down on the road, and we'll get to that at the end. Now, the other thing we've got to consider with the Taycan, especially the Turbo S, is simply the bonkers torque figures on this car, which is why it picks up so quickly. 774 pounds-foot, I think, something like that. But the wheel torque figure is what is really scary on this, and I worked it out to be about, wait for this, 8,850 pounds-foot of wheel torque in this car, because you've got the gearbox, obviously, that 15-to-1 when you're in sport mode on the rear. So it makes for some absolutely blistering acceleration off the line, and you kind of expect it to just light up, everything to just light up, but it doesn't in this car. It just doesn't light up. It's very hard to get this car to spin up, and there's all kinds of, as I said, electronic wizardry taking care of that, but the way it gets the power down never ceases to amaze me. So we've spoken about some of the things that really help this car to just blast off the line like that so impressively, but there is one other thing that we haven't yet touched on, one other crucial component as to why this car is so good at putting the power down onto the road, and that is the weight. The weight absolutely makes this a masterpiece of getting off the line. It's so good at doing that because the car is pressed down so heavily. Now, we have to draw some comparisons here with the McMurtry Spierling, that absolutely bonkers car that melts people's faces in a face-melting way. You've seen the videos online, and this car uses a fan to suck itself down onto the road. I don't know how much it weighs off the top of my head, but with that fan going, there is absolutely no denying the fact that it is going to weigh an awful lot more. It's going to be pressed down onto the road with a lot more force, which is why it's just mind-bendingly fast, this thing. And the Taycan benefits from being so heavy because it is pressed down onto the road and isn't going to slip when you're accelerating off the line. It does so beautifully. It just launches. And when you're talking about wet roads, it's even more important. Now, the enemy for grip in water or wet roads is aquaplaning, which is when the tyre isn't making contact with the road because it's literally skiing over the top of a film of water, and that is when you lose all control, and accidents happen on motorways and places like that because cars aquaplane. And of course, if a car is aquaplaning, you are stuck. There is no way you're going to be able to regain control of that car until it slows down enough that the tyres make contact with the road and you're able to pull back that level of control. With the Taycan, it is so heavy that it is pushing down through that water so that the tyres are making contact with the road. A light car is definitely a car that is going to be aquaplaning quite significantly, and I've definitely experienced it in my time. The Renault 5 GT Turbo is really bad for that in the wet. It aquaplanes like the best of them. But the Taycan, the weight of the Taycan is just what makes this car so good at getting that power down and launching off the line. And for a point-to-point car, the way you can throw it into a bend and drive off really does impress me. There is absolutely no escaping that whatsoever. It's a really clever car like that. So that is what I wanted to cover in this video. Is there really a better car than this for getting from A to B in all conditions? I would hazard a guess that probably there isn't. Now, is it the most fun way? It's up there, but I think a four-wheel drive 911 Turbo S might just give you a little bit more of that going on, a bit of that heart-stopping feedback that you love. But this car is really, there's no denying how clever it is and how wonderful the length the Porsche engineers have gone to make this very good, and to make that power that it's got, the insane power figures, very usable indeed. So congratulations to them. So that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Do like, do sub, very much appreciated, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.